The coronavirus outbreak at the White House continues to grow, and now staffers for a Colorado congressman are sick, and they say their boss is putting others at risk by refusing a test. Activists or elected officials? We asked the question in a 360 report, and today Colorado politicians are sounding off on why they need to be both to represent their communities. Plus, the turmoil in Washington getting in the way of another round of coronavirus relief. But a second stimulus check may still be on the table as negotiations for a relief package are called off. Thanks for joining us on Denver7 News at 11. I'm Jessica Porter. We want to get straight to the coronavirus outbreak moving through the White House. Top Trump policy advisor Stephen Miller is the latest White House official to test positive for the virus. The outbreak spans the first family, White House staff, members of Congress, and the RNC, as well as White House journalists. And now defense officials say several senior Pentagon leaders are also under quarantine after U.S. Coast Guard Admiral Charles Ray tested positive Monday. Dr. Anthony Fauci says many of these infections, if not all of them, could have been avoided.
That is a reality right there. And every day that goes by, more people are popping up that are infected. It's not a hoax. It's an unfortunate situation when you see something like that, because that could have been prevented.
Trump's off the campaign trail for now, but insists he'll be at next week's debate, which comes exactly 2 weeks after he announced his diagnosis. Former Vice President Joe Biden says he'll be there if health experts give the go-ahead. Aides working for Colorado Congressman Doug Lamborn tell our partners with the Denver Post staffers in Lamborn's D.C. office are sick with the virus. They report 2 staff members tested positive and others are experiencing symptoms. Lamborn represents the 5th district in Colorado Springs. His staffers say he's been back here in Colorado attending fundraisers, but has not taken a coronavirus test to confirm or rule out the virus. Denver7 reached out to Congressman Lamborn's office, but we're still waiting to hear back. The first and only vice presidential debate happens tonight. Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris take the debate stage in Utah for arguably the most anticipated VP debate in history. And with a White House outbreak and Vice President Pence serving as the head of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, COVID will be a hot topic tonight. Denver7's Nicole Brady shows us the precautions in place for tonight's debate and advice from doctors all of us should take as we start spending more time indoors.
The CDC is acknowledging that particles that come out when we breathe or talk can linger in the air for hours. They can circulate and accumulate, and indoors they have nowhere to go. So some distance is better than none, and more distance is always better. But is it going to be enough for our 2 candidates tonight? They are going to be 12 feet, 3 inches apart. We measured that amount. It's not really that far, and if you imagine particles coming out of someone's mouth while they're speaking or shouting loudly, maybe not as forcefully as a hairspray bottle, but you can get the picture. And an aerosol expert I spoke to says that distance alone, plexiglass barriers alone, might not be enough.
So the problem when you're in a closed environment is the droplets can move away from you, they hit a wall, and they come back. But when you don't have walls, they just keep going.
So beyond the debate tonight, what does this mean for those of us who will be spending more time indoors this fall and winter? Well, these viral aerosols can pose a danger even in our own homes, and especially as we gather with friends and family for the holidays perhaps. The best advice from an aerosol expert I spoke to is to still maintain some distance indoors. Of course, wear masks, open some windows, and again, just try to be outside whenever you can. Nicole Brady, Denver7.
Nicole, thank you. Both the Biden and Trump campaigns will host events ahead of or during the debate. In Erie, Congressman Ken Buck will host a MAGA meetup at 3 this afternoon at the Erie Community Park. And right now, the Trump campaign's senior advisor is leading a door-knocking effort to rally the vote in Denver. And the Biden campaign will host a drive-in style debate watch party at Denver's South High School. Doors open at 5:30 with speeches from Colorado Democrats starting at 6:30. Senator Cory Gardner and former Governor John Hickenlooper will meet here on Friday for their first televised debate. The conversation begins at 5 o'clock and ends at 6:30. Our very own Andrew Heel will moderate alongside journalists from Colorado Public Radio and the Denver Post. If you have a question for the candidates, send it to ann@thedenverchannel.com. That's ANNE. Then tune in to Denver7 on Friday to see the candidates tackle the issues that matter most to you. Monday night, Denver7 took a 360 look at activism on the part of elected officials. We posed the question, should those elected into office be actively participating in protests? When does it cross the line, or does it? Our 360 report gave 7 different perspectives on the changing landscape of local politics. And we always ask you to weigh in. And we heard a lot of reaction, including from those political leaders who have been on the front lines of protests. Some took issue with our focus on Black Lives Matter protests, pointing out elected leaders from both sides of the aisle have been attending protests for years. Others defended their constitutional right to freedom of expression. Tonight, 4 of the elected leaders featured in our report will hold a community discussion explaining why they take an active approach on the issues. That's tonight at 6 at Brother Jeff's Cultural Center and Cafe. Remember, you can watch all of our 360 reporting anytime on the Denver channel for your Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, or Amazon Fire Stick. Today, Secretary of State Jenna Griswold will host a Zoom town hall discussing voting rights. She'll be joined by U.S. Representative Joe Neguse and State Representative Lisa Cutter. If you have any questions concerning your rights and voting in Colorado, you can get answers by joining the Zoom or watch on Facebook Live starting at 6. Denver7 is here to help you every step of the way this election season, from registering to vote to learning about the issues and even tracking your ballot. You can find our full election guide on our website. Just click on the Election 2020 tab on thedenverchannel.com. Now to the latest on the coronavirus here in Colorado. New cases and our state positivity rates are trending up again. The state reported 654 new cases Tuesday, bringing the total to more than 74,000 cases since the pandemic began. The percentage of positive cases is on the rise again, but still we're well below the 5% threshold. Hospitalizations are also rising. 343 hospital beds are in use by COVID patients. That's about 4% of all hospital beds reserved for coronavirus. A vast majority of COVID patients do recover, and this week, UC Health hit a major milestone. The hospital discharged its 2,000th patient. Since the pandemic began, UC Health has cared for almost 30% of Colorado's hospitalized COVID-19 patients. The state will start deconstructing 2 alternative care sites that were used for coronavirus patients. The Ranch Complex in Loveland and the Western Memory Care in Grand Junction will be closed in mid-November. The state says because Colorado's positivity rate is about 3.4%, it believes it's safe to close them. 3 alternative sites will remain open, including the Colorado Convention Center. The state says there is still enough hospital capacity to respond if we see a surge in cases. CU Boulder officials will meet with Boulder County Health this afternoon to figure out the next steps in stopping the spread of coronavirus. A public health order that bans gatherings of 2 or more people between the ages of 18 and 22 will expire tomorrow. The order was put in place last month to stop the outbreak on campus, but CU Boulder didn't report any new coronavirus cases yesterday. At the end of August, the campus was reporting more than 1,000 positive cases. Unemployment benefits helped those struggling get by during the pandemic. Now, one Colorado woman is being asked to pay her benefits back. Amber says she got a letter from the state labor department last month saying she was overpaid more than $6,000 in unemployment benefits. She and her husband are gig workers and were told they put in the wrong amount when filing. Amber hasn't paid that money back and says she would like to see documentation proving she was wrong before she does.
I think it's their error, and I don't think that we should be punished for something that they just can't get their stuff together.
They say the state is bound by federal law to correct mistakes made by applicants, but they're also trying to clarify potentially confusing language on a state website. The State Labor Department told our partners at Colorado Public Radio the problem stems from human error combined with the rush to deploy a new unemployment program. The negotiations to lock down a new relief package canceled. President Trump announced he's ordered his team to stop negotiations with Congress until after the election. Right now, he wants the Senate to focus on approving Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett. Just a few hours before President Trump cut off negotiations, the Fed warned of tragic consequences for the economy if Congress doesn't come to an agreement soon.
Too little support would lead to a weak recovery, creating unnecessary hardship for households and businesses.
It's scary living day to day.
But another stimulus check is still possible. Shortly after his sudden announcement, the president suggested he would be willing to sign a standalone stimulus bill to fund another round of $1,200 checks. But Democrats say a broader relief bill needs to happen.